Mayor of Wyckoff, Kevin Rooney, who's going to tell us a little bit about his background, what's going on in town, and then give us some time, plenty of time for questions and answers. So without further ado, Kevin Rooney.
I'll stand over here so I can be close to Bill.
All right.
Today he can hear.
You hear me now, Bill?
Yes, I got it. Yeah.
Well, thanks for having me. This is my second time back here, out of the 3 times I've been the township mayor. Bill, I'm going to pick on you just a second. Don't feel bad about the tech end. I have councilmen that still have to have paper packets. Now, in an age where we have folks like Frederick in the computer business and Gordon, you know, we should be able to have everything digitalized, everything on iPads, but we still do things the old school way. So we're getting there.
Yeah, but the thing is, I ever see Fred with my iPad, Frederick, today. Okay. He'll probably say go to Apple.
But they're good. They fixed my computer yesterday.
Okay.
So a couple things that are going on in town that I think are noteworthy. As Lee mentioned, last week was Wyckoff Day, which was a fabulous event. It was well attended. The Ducky Derby, which is important to our volunteer base, our fire department and ambulance corps, generated about $3,700, which is significantly more than the chili cook-offs that we've had in the past. So it's something that we're going to duplicate next year. I think it will only grow, and we're actually going to increase it a little bit. Instead of going once across the lake, we're going to go back.
And more importantly, it got the ambulance corps and Wyckoff Fire Department a little bit more involved in the process, which is another key.
It was really interactive in a sense, you know.
3 injuries.
Even no, except for Lee. Lee put his hand on the loader's knuckle.
Look,
came
look how
with
clean it is.
a hand of grease. But it was a well-attended event. Anyone that was out there knew how much it meant to the volunteers to be part of it. But there's some other things that are going on in town that I think are really worth talking about. And the reason I started off with Wyckoff Day was we kicked off part of the day with the Mayor's Wellness Walk. So last year I introduced wellness to Wyckoff, and it's really been embraced by the schools and the public. Now, Franklin Lakes has been doing it for a period of years. Oakland's just starting it, and you talked earlier about your triathlon, which kind of plays into this whole wellness. A year or so ago, I was 55 pounds heavier than where I am today. And I decided that wellness was something that Wyckoff was all about. The kids, as I said, embraced it. The schools embraced it. And you'll appreciate this, Dr. War. Theme day at your old school was all about wellness, and I started it that morning.
That's great.
You know, and so the kids there have embraced it. Coolidge is a big supporter of wellness, as is in Sycamac. So this is something maybe you all want to get involved with, is the approach of wellness, but more importantly, how you can interact with the community as a whole, all right, especially in Millen Park, Wyckoff, etc. So I want to talk about the wellness a little bit and what we can do collectively, right? Get back on track. I know we all had eggs today, and there was pancakes and other things that were up there, and donuts. So getting back on track, walking each day is something important, and highlighting that is the new walking path over at Pullis Field.
Oh.
So we kicked that off as the Mayor's Wellness Walk at 11 o'clock on this past Saturday, and the walking path is about a half a mile. Thanks to the DPW and some generous support for a lot of folks, we kicked it off and walked around there, and Lee can attest that it was a nice way to spend the afternoon over there. Additionally, over at Pullis Field, by the end of this month, we'll be flipping the lights, which will make Mr. Madigan happy. He gets a lot of questions about when the lights are going on over there. We started the parking lot lights this week. So the next step will actually be flipping the switch. The playground is now installed. There will be some exercise equipment going in about 10 days from now. That was through the generosity of Larry and Sarah from ShopRite, who donated $50,000 to that project. The snack stand is almost complete. That was through a generous donation by Brian Akemian of $35,000. So no taxpayer impact there. So $85,000 went exclusively to that. Other donations have come in from the Parks and Rec Foundation. There's still opportunities there to buy bricks. So if you want to have your family highlighted or a loved one in a brick walkway, that can be purchased, as can be benches. And it's something that benches are important because not only obviously there's a place to sit, but you can highlight a loved one that has passed. So a living, basically tribute that will go there, because we also plant flowers around them. So if you are interested in that, contact Elaine Booth at Township Hall. Wyckoff's been in the paper a lot about our police department, and I just wanted to let you know that our police department is doing well. It's moving forward. There are no concerns on the police department level from the township's position on that. We're going through an accreditation process, something that I believe will make our police department better than it has ever been. It's a year-long process. At the end of the day, we'll come out of that with a set of operating orders and structures and policies that will make our police department better. We've also just now purchased 4 tasers, so we're moving forward with the police department. Tasers, why we have the ability to use other things than lethal force. So 4 tasers will be out on the road in about 10 days. The reason it takes a long period of time, believe it or not, and this is all about politics, is tasers come with the responsibility of full training. Full training means everyone in the department has to be trained. There's 26 sworn officers. It's a 2-day class for the training. They have to qualify using 3 cartridges at $30 a piece. They have to do that each year. So there's an ongoing expense each year.
person?
Yes. So the expense is about $2,300 each year, just on retraining. It is cheaper than bullets, but there is an expense that you have to incur with that. But the tasers nowadays, they have cameras built into them. So they actually, you can see what you're doing and record that. So there's software that has to go back into our server. So the police department is moving forward. I just wanted to make sure that you all understood that. The township's also become very busy with our land use boards. So there's a lot of activity in the community. It's one of the hottest communities right now, Wyckoff, for real estate sales. Anybody that's in that business knows. Houses go on the market, unless something's really wrong with them, they're not priced right, they sell quickly. So that's an exciting thing. Our town is moving forward. As you all know, last year we finished the reval, and the town came out of that, I feel, in a good position with something that was mandated. But again, we're moving in that right direction. Everybody asks about ShopRite. ShopRite right now has finished their last appeal, and the ShopRite end of it, they won. They dropped their lawsuit against the Boulder Run folks, Hakimian and Stop It and Shop. So I'm hopeful, and I use this word.
Hopefully.
I use this word in the sense that hopeful means, Bill, that by the end of this year we will see a shovel in the ground. Hopeful means that the work that's going on right now, trying to get the sewer prep done, will mean that it goes on by the end of this year. But I'm also hopeful that someone doesn't decide to drop another lawsuit and stop this process. The folks over there have been paying $100,000 a month not to occupy it. So they've spent somewhere in the neighborhood of about $12 million to this point, between the lease and the lawsuit. So I know they're anxious to start this process. You'll see there's the new bank is finally going in town.
Ooh, I'm on you.
There are enough banks in town.
There's a lot of banks in town, but
That's a good sign.
that's sign. That just means there's a lot of money for depositors.
All we need is Columbia and ASB, that's all we need.
You know.
And no more barber shop in the town.
Well,
Or haircutters.
Well, to that point, we actually heard an application last night on a new hair salon. So it's going to take a little while for that application to go before the planning board. They have to come back to us, but there is a lot of movement in the community right now. A lot of changes. We're going through the 3rd round of COA right now. It's litigation before the attorneys and the judge. So we'll see where that goes. We did what's called an overlay in the community. We looked at areas where we need to address how we can achieve some of their numbers. And Gordon, being on the township committee in the past and as a mayor, he knows the struggles we've had to meet their numbers. They would like to see somewhere, as of right now, about 1,000 units in our community. And what that means, essentially, that equates to somewhere around 20,000 if you go with apartments. So that's not going to happen. So the number's gonna be a lot less, but we looked at overlays in the community where a building can have retail on the first floor and 1 to 2 apartments on the second floor to meet that. Now, again, the property owner would have to agree to that and sell their property or build on their property, but it's a way to address some of those concerns with COA. And even in some of the properties we put in overlays now have been sold before the decision by the judge, so they may have to be removed from that. But it's a process, and we're going through it, but it's a process that's cost taxpayers money. And it's the same thing going on in Midland Park, in Oakland, and every other community in New Jersey right now. So, but again, Wyckoff is in a really good position right now. Bonding-wise, we have the least amount of debt anywhere around here. We have about $2.6 million in debt. Most of that comes from either roads, and we talked about what it costs you for your parking lot. Just understand we have 90 miles of roads in our community. This year we applied $350,000 towards road repair. In the past, it's been $1 million, $1.3 million over the last 3 years. We fortunately all experienced a very mild winter. It didn't beat up on the road so much. Asphalt has come down. So anyone looking to do their driveways right now, last year was about $74 a ton. It's now around $58 a ton, significantly less. So it allows us to do more with less right now, so more roads. Back to the 2.6 roughly in bonding. Roads are a big component of that, as is fire trucks. And you probably hear about this all the time. And in Tom's infinite words, we just purchased a new pumper. It took me a year to figure out what that meant. But the new pumper is approximately $600,000. The last one we purchased was $645,000. Fortunately, this year we had a lot of discussion with Company 3. They went out and got some significant donations, and the town's investment is only $550,000. The rest will come from donations, and they'll make up the difference. So they work with us, and I'm very thankful of that. But understand this, a year from now, we need a new pumper.
How long did you have to?
34 years. This one's 34 years. We were on track for 30. We got out of sync. So right now, the one we're replacing will be 34 years, as will be the next one. And on the heels of that will be a new tower ladder, which I think, Gordon, you were back in the tower ladder days. $1.7 million now is a new tower ladder. So apparatus is the most expensive, and I'm circling back in this whole story, and then I'll turn it over to any questions about volunteers. Our fire department will be having some fundraisers coming up. One will be a fishing trip for Company 3 on July 10th. They will also have a beefsteak in the fall, and I told them not to have a conflict with yours.
Yeah.
Departmentally, they will have a comedy night coming up, date to be determined for this fall. The reason that's so important is to make up the difference of what the town can spend. The fire department is typically our biggest capital expense outside of roads. It's a lot to support those folks. We need them. They really help us out 24/7. They give a lot of their time each and every day. But we can only give so much monetarily to the fire department, and things are very expensive. Every time we put a new volunteer on, which is wonderful, right? It's about $5,000 just in turnout gear. And that's the hat and their boots and their gear, et cetera. And it's gone up because right now, every 10 years, you cannot use that same turnout gear. Even if it's brand new looking, it doesn't matter. POSHA, which is similar to OSHA, requires us to not allow them to use it for an active firefighter. Our ambulance corps, which is another huge group of volunteers, their stipend is only $50,000 from the town. Everything else, they fundraise for, and I mean everything. Their ambulance are $210,000. They fundraise for those. Their stretchers are $32,000. They fundraise for those. Band-Aids, and it seems insignificant, but they spend a lot on supplies, a lot of training. Their training is almost 300 hours that they have to put in, and that's, I believe, every 2 years to be certified. My wife's actually the second lieutenant on the ambulance call. And last night when I was out actually at Aldo's enjoying a cocktail after our planning board meeting, my wife was at a 4-car MVA on Route 208. with 3 ambulances, 2 from Wyckoff and 1 from a neighboring community, taking folks to the hospital that were injured. So our volunteers need support, and I always stress the need for everyone to go out and either support them with a donation or let people know that they're out there and they need your support. So thank you, and I'll open up for questions.